Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Crypto Hipster Podcast. This is your host, Jamil Hassan, the Crypto Hipster, where I bring you founders, entrepreneurs, executives, thought leaders, amazing people all around the world of crypto and blockchain. And I have another amazing guest. Actually, I have a repeat guest, so I know he's amazing. He was my first guest for podcast one of season 6, and now we're wrapping up season 8. And I have this man back because it was a wonderful conversation. So welcome Oleg Fomenko, who is the founder and creator of Sweat. Oleg, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me again.
You're very welcome. Very welcome. So for those who didn't listen to our first episode, my first question is this, and I'll ask you it again. What is your background, and is it a logical background for what you're doing now?
I would say so, because I ended up being here and doing what I'm doing. So something in that background led me here. So if somebody judges it as illogical, I would love to have a conversation with them. But the things that led me here were interest in consumer products and not, building infrastructure for infrastructure's sake, but building something that can and will be used by tens of millions, hundreds of millions, ideally billions of people. And specifically, it is my passion and my interest in mobile tech and building something that works beautifully on small screens, small devices, rather than on desktop and laptop. And of course, my very, very early kind of diving into crypto, I looked at Bitcoin for the first time in 2011. And we've started this business, Sweat, in 2014 with a project called Sweat Coin. As name of Sweat Coin would suggest, we already thought about it being crypto in 2014, when the only blockchain in existence was Bitcoin. We've spoken to Vitalik in 2015, but it was too early. Mass products or mass market products with appeal to hundreds of millions of users just could not be supported back then. And it took us nearly 8 years to find blockchain technology fast enough and robust enough to launch Sweat and Sweat Wallet, which is what I am leading right now.
Got it. So I want to find out, what the Sweat economy is all about, the Sweat Wallet. And since we last spoke 2 years ago, what improvements, innovations, advancements have happened in the Sweat economy?
Yeah, it's the whole century, I guess, in crypto life that passed since our last conversation. So a lot has changed, and we have a lot more users, a lot more features that are exciting. And yeah, I'd be glad to talk about what we've done in 2 years, but also what we are launching right now. What is the latest and freshest alpha that I can share with the audience of Crypto Hipster?
My audience loves alpha, so let's start with the alpha. What's going on right
Yeah.
now?
Yeah, everyone is talking about AI, and as a person who is passionate about mass adoption, I always look at this hype cycles with a little bit of skepticism, because we tend to jump on certain technology or certain narrative and kind of go, "Oh, this is a thing in itself," and we've gone deep in meme coins, and then there was DeSci, and you name it. Over the last couple of years, we had a lot of different narratives, and of course, right now, AI is dominating everyone's minds. And it is quite peculiar to me that we are now talking about AI in a very similar fashion, like we talked about internet in the end of 90s and early 2000s. Specifically, kind of VCs were saying, we're investing in the internet, and businesses were going, we are building in the internet. Right now, nobody does that. Kind of internet became a thing that everyone engages with. It's a channel of communication. Some businesses only exist on the internet. Some businesses use it as a part of their proposition and their portfolio. AI, in my mind, is exactly the same thing. It's a tool, And in our world, it is a tool to drive mass adoption. So we have just gone live with our personal or super personalized AI assistant called Mia, Movement in Action. So you will have a separate tab in Sweat Wallet, which is our non-custodial wallet that will be able to not just answer questions like we used to using LLM, but it will be able to guide you through actions. And the reason for it is because we integrate it into your device. So it doesn't, just get your question, processes the information, and gives you paragraphs of text. It is, of course, capable of doing that, but based on your on-chain activity, based on your physical activity, which we see, of course, step count and how active you are, if you're running or if you're walking, and also based on your usage of Sweat Wallet and your mobile device, it can give you specific action just with a button in front of you so that you don't have to take directions, go there, do this, and then you need to remember what steps to take and you go and you perform those actions yourself, but you literally press one button and you confirm a transaction. So Mia can construct transfers for you. Mia can construct kind of staking actions for you. And all you have to do is just review and confirm. So this is something that is a next step of kind of AI evolution, where it's not just telling you what to do, but it is constructing all of those actions and removes complexity from your life. Our users, 90% of them are brand new to crypto, and they do need some help to build their confidence to become crypto natives. And what we realized is that we have people all around the world speaking all different languages and using very different vocabulary the way they describe their question. And typically, what it means is that you need to develop FAQs or educational videos. And then it's quite difficult, not necessarily easy for people to find this content because they might not be using the, kind of crypto lingo, or they might not even be using the right analogous word in their language. LLMs are a lot cleverer and they can understand this question and feed right content to you heck of a lot faster without you having to first understand how to ask a question. So we've already seen with the launch of Mia that we've done several weeks ago, because it's in A/B testing right now with thousands of people. We've seen tremendous increase in the way people engage and how long they engage for, and also how many features they're using. So the speed of their progression and understanding of what crypto is, how does it work, and features of our wallet have shot absolutely through the roof. So we are using AI not to talk about AI, not to fit into a narrative and kind of go, we have AI. We look at it as a tool. We spent quite a bit of time training our AI assistant, Mia, Movement in Action, on millions of questions that our users have asked, so that we give you the fastest, the shortest, the snappiest answer, but we also give you an action that you most likely want to perform as a result of this information.
So people use your Sweat app for predominantly for walking
To
or
earn
used to.
more and to
Right.
be more physically active, because our
Right.
mission is to make the world healthier and wealthier. So, whatever question you have around, like one of the most frequently asked questions we've seen, okay, I'm here, now what do I do? Right? Because, kind of you come in and you just want to zoom through the experience and get the benefit right away. And people would ask, so what do I do now? Right now, we've trained Mia to make sure that she looks at everything that we can find on you and on your actions. And she will specifically, knowing your situation, knowing your assets, knowing how long you've been with us, how much you're earning per day, how much you're walking, give you the best action to maximize your earnings and to maximize the amount of physical activity you do per day.
Got it. So a lot of your questions are, what physical activity should I do? How can I
Yeah.
lose a certain amount of weight, or how can I get my
Or
heart
what
rate
do I
going?
do? Yeah, or what do I do with sweat that I have unbalanced right now? What is the best thing that I can do? And depending on the situation and depending on the amount that you have, in some circumstances, me, I would advise you, oh, you should put it into your step-based jar, which is our version of staking, grow jar. Because when we were doing our kind of product design work, we realized that for a lot of people new to crypto, staking, for example, would be an absolutely alien and misunderstood word. One guy, and I quote him frequently, he said, when I hear staking, I think of Count Dracula and stakes of the heart rather than financial product. So we went, you know what? Why do we have to explain this terminology when it's very easy for people to understand? You open grow jar, you put sweat into it, it grows. And in our world, it also grows in line with your physical activity. If you walk 10,000 steps today, you earn 10% yield. If you walk 20,000 steps tomorrow, you will earn 20% yield the day after. So we also link your physical activity not just to the amount of sweat you earn, but to the amount of active income that you earn if you stake. And if you put sweat in the grow jar and you don't move at all, then you will earn zero. But you know what happens? If you put sweat into grow jar and it is linked to your physical activity, it pushes you to walk more. It pushes you to change your kind of daily routine. People skip buses, people go for the dog walks for longer, because unconsciously you realize that that has value, and unconsciously your body starts to find ways to put more steps into your daily life.
I like that. So you're really redefining and transforming the movement economy through your move to earn model.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, some people say that kind of move to earn was actually born in 2014 when we launched, because Sweatcoin was the first of its kind. And since then, we've seen dozens and dozens of competitors. Some of them are still around, but many of them are not, because they didn't grasp what was actually needed in order to attract the attention of the next billion people. And these things are simple, easy to understand product, one. Two, really, really good, simple user experience and user interface that is not overloaded with terminology that you need to explain or you need to educate people on. Nobody wants to spend time to understand a word that already exists in English language. And the third one, and probably the most important one for your audience, is the typical experience. You go through a rigmarole of having to save 24 words somewhere, and ideally you scribble them with a nail on a piece of metal, split it into two halves and two different geographical locations and all of that. We have none of that complexity. But even if people went through that, then the next request is, okay, you need to buy crypto. And typically you would need to buy a few $100s worth of crypto in order to start playing. But the new user to crypto looks at it as, I'm here to educate myself, to understand what crypto is. Does it have benefit to me? Do I want to engage? And very few people want to spend several $100s on starting their education journey. In our world, the app is free, everyone's got legs, and all of a sudden you start earning cents and then dollars. And when you have that confidence, when you understood that, yes, this is a product that I want to have. Yes, I understand how everything works because it's simple, easy, intuitive, and it works on my mobile, which means that it's always with you. And let's face it, it's very difficult to attract billion people if you have desktop or laptop based product, because very, very few people in the world have these devices. They're just too expensive for majority of world's population. So not asking to part with your money as a first step of learning crypto has been a kind of tremendous boost for us. And most of our users, they would buy their crypto using their own money 2 to 3 weeks after they join Sweat Wallet, when they feel comfortable, when they feel that they're ready, as opposed to do it as a first step. There is also fear in many people's minds because if you are not crypto native, then majority of crypto news would be, oh, this Ronnie bridge got drained by 600 million, wormhole bridge got drained by 300 million, and people fear that it will be their money that will get lost. So removing this fear, removing this barrier, allowing them to take their pace, earn, as I said, cents and dollars by moving their feet and becoming more physically active, all of a sudden makes them, confident a lot faster and at their own pace. And AI assistant that we are just launching is accelerating this path because it allows them to ask questions simply, easily, without having to think of terminology and educating themselves. And we are expecting that we're going to have, first of all, a lot more users, and they will be a lot more engaged and a lot more active for a lot longer period of time.
Got it. So you're looking to bring on board the next billion users, but like you said, AI is the hot topic, right? Every
Yeah.
time there's a hot topic, it ends up just being hype and it dies away. I don't think AI is agents are dying anytime soon, but it's a combination of AI agents and something else like chain abstraction or the use of blockchain that will
Yeah.
working together that will enable that next billion dollars. So what's the role of AI agents combined with chain abstraction in unlocking mass adoption?
Very, very perceptive question. So chain abstraction is an answer to another problem that our users, probably best of our users, are experiencing. So here's a typical journey. People come in, they start walking, earning their cents and dollars, understand how sending, receiving, staking works. And then they go and they write to our support, oh, I want to trade on PancakeSwap. How do I do that? Or, oh, I want to go and check out meme coins on pump.fun. And those would be on BSC chain or on Solana chain. And until now, we have not supported them. And what these people do then, if they're really, really keen to discover those dApps, they have to educate themselves and figure out how to go to another chain, create an account, download another wallet, fund that account, then bridge their assets from one chain to another in order to do that. That is a very involved, risky, and very frequently extremely complicated process, especially if you're doing it for the first time. So what we've realized is that actually using architecture that we can benefit from near protocol, we can add support for all of those chains without creating any complexity in your life. So that if you want to interact with the dApp on BSC, all you have to do is just open that dApp. And even if you don't have account on BSC chain, we can create it on the fly. We can save the key to that account subservient to your current Sweat Wallet key or key to your near account so that you don't have to record the address. You don't have to save the password. You manage all of those accounts as if all of those chains were managed by this one key, which is considerably easier from operational security perspective than to end up in a situation like probably you have. I don't know about you, but I have spreadsheets with chain, address, seed phrase, and I've lost some assets because I just can't for the life of mine figure out kind of where were they, what EVM was it, and I just I can't find them, live along recover. And we don't want our users to ever go through this because all of these accounts on all of those chains are managed effectively as one pot. You have visibility of your assets on any chain. And if you're looking at an asset that, for example, scattered on different chains, you look at it in aggregate. Because if you have USDT on 3 different chains, you have that USDT. You need to know what amount of USDT you have, not that this amount is on that chain, this amount is on that chain, this amount is on that chain. This is like having an aggregator of all your, for example, banking services, where you can see what you have and you don't need to worry what amount you have in each bank. So one wallet instead of multiple wallets, one key instead of many keys. And there is another advantage there, which is, in a classical MPC world, you cannot change the key to all of your accounts, because if you change the key, accounts change. And if, for example, somebody, kind of leaked your seed phrase or your private key for your MPC wallet, that's it. All you can do is transfer as quickly as you can before somebody else drains your account onto a new and safer one. In our world, you can change that key simply and easily without it changing addresses on all the destination chains. That also means that when quantum computing kicks in, you're actually safe. So that, when that will become a risk or a concern, you will be able to change your key to a quantum computing proof key and just continue to sail forward without all of a sudden having to change absolutely everything in your crypto world. And last but not least, and this is actually an exciting thing, not just for crypto curious that we predominantly serve right now, but also for crypto natives, we are making this chain abstraction or support for all of these chains in a way that allows you to pay any action on any of those chains in sweat. So you literally pay your fees with your feet. It means that you don't have to have dozens of different gas tokens scattered all over and all of a sudden discover that, oh my God, this chain is not working, only to kind of go and see that your balance of a native token has gone down. You will not worry about it because Sweat is becoming a universal gas token and can be used for anything and everything, whatever chain you use. So one wallet, one key, one token to pay for all of those actions. And we're starting with 4 EVM chains: Ethereum, BSC, Arbitrum, and Base. But we're very rapidly going to add support for all other most popular chains after that.
Sounds exciting. Really exciting.
Thank you.
I like that.
And we do all of that not just for functionality's sake, because look, there are multi-chain wallets, but again, they will not be able to, kind of offer you one key that you can change or even progressively increase security. Because we start with social login, as simple as you can log in with Apple ID or Google ID. If you want to increase the level of security, you can upgrade to seed phrase. If you are like me, kind of really kind of worry about operational security, then you can change it to Ledger, so that, kind of you have progressive security no matter what your security requirements are. There is an answer for you. But for majority of our users who only start their journey and got just few dollars on their accounts, social sign-in is just such a simple experience and allows them to recover control of their account, even if they change device and they lost the previous one.
Awesome. So, wow, there's a lot going on. So I want to take a step back. I want to shift gears a little bit and take a step back and find out from you at a higher level. Then, what's the state? What's the state of the movement economy today?
We are at the very beginning of our journey, but in comparison to what we were discussing 2 years ago, we know a heck of a lot more and understand a lot more. When we started this business, we were saying your physical activity has value. We intuitively, all of us understand that, but we did not know how much. In the last couple of years, we've done a lot of work with academic institutions, not internally ourselves that can be claimed as biased, but we gave grants to 3 universities and a think tank to go through thousands of research papers that, for example, can explain to you how making your employees more physically active impacts your productivity, your absenteeism, reduction in kind of mental health complaints. Or, there is a lot of work has been done. How does physical activity impact your longevity? How much longer and how many more years you're going to be economically active if you're physically active? And we've asked these universities and this think tank to basically look at all of that and quantify it, turn it into hard numbers, dollars. And we realize that the consensus right now is that when you walk 10,000 steps, which we call active day, I mean, everyone knows that, 10,000 steps a day is a good number that we should be all aiming for. And our goal as a business is to make the value of your active day as high as possible, because that will push you to be more active. That will attract a lot more people to start their journey of becoming healthier and wealthier. And by having this sort of goal, we are aligning our interests as a business and our mission with every token holder out there. At the moment, the market pays about 1 cent for 10,000 steps, while the academic consensus is that 10,000 steps already create close to $4 of economic value to parties that benefit from it. And those would be governments, insurance, healthcare providers, employers, brands selling sports and health and fitness goods, fashion, etc., etc., etc. So the value of economic activity is phenomenally high. And if you start looking at it on a global basis, you are looking at an economy that is bigger than attention economy, because attention economy is about $7 trillion. Unfortunately, the way it is structured is really bad for us is humans, because the way it works, Google takes your attention, sells it to the highest bidder, puts all the money in the pocket, and all you get is 2 gigs with your Gmail for free. That's not an economy. You create the value, you create this asset, attention, but you get very little of its value into your pocket. With the way we design movement economy is we tokenize, we verify your physical activity, we tokenize it, and we give it to you so that it creates motivation in you to be even more physically active, which creates really positive economic externalities for everybody, but very importantly, for you, which is not the case with attention economy. And by current estimates, movement economy is definitely bigger than attention economy, and that one is $7 trillion annually. And our mission is to build your value of movement into $1 trillion of movement economy, where it's not big tech that benefits only, but you benefit first and foremost, and then all the rest of the parties that are benefiting from making or helping you to become more physically active and create that economic benefit, not just to them, but to you, to put some of that value into your pocket.
Got it. I understand what you're saying. There are people who wouldn't understand though. I could look at exercise one of two ways, right?
Yeah.
Either what I do is I incrementally walk up to 20,000 steps a day. I
That's
grab
a
a half
very,
mile.
very good number.
Yeah. If I can walk back and forth down my drive, I get 0.1, right? And throughout the day, it adds up, right? A lot of people
Yeah.
think they can't exercise because they can't set aside a block of time, and then right, so don't have that block of time, and then they go and overeat, right? So that
Yeah.
you're paying for that economy, right? Instead of seeing the value in the incremental, you know.
Yeah.
So what's the value of the incremental? Because you're going to get 10,000 or 20,000 steps incrementally. What's the value of the incremental, movement?
Yeah. It's a very, very good question. Spending years on this question, my answer or our answer is you cannot look at it in incremental sense. Let me give you an illustration that, or thought experiment. The first XXX to earn economy that already exists for thousands of years is work to earn, right? We're very used to that. When you work, you create value, it's an asset. But you are not getting paid for extra work, you're getting paid for work. Same thing with your attention, right? The extra attention is always a lot more valuable, but you cannot reward only extra. Same thing with physical activity. The value is created by extra physical activity, but in order to get extra, you have to reward all of it. We do have a kind of tool and the mechanism how we make sure that if somebody only walks between their bed and the toilet and the kitchen and then back, then their rewards are non-existent. For example, now we only start minting sweat on a daily basis at 3,000 steps because we realized, kind of on the sample of 250 million people that installed Sweatcoin, that kind of median or the sort of the average would be 3,000. And because our objective is to make you more active, we're starting to pay sweat at 3,000. And on the free tier, it finishes at 10. And if you are a premium subscriber, then it finishes at 20,000 steps a day. So we are creating these nudges by not rewarding first, kind of few steps that are extremely easy to take, or rather impossible not to take. But we're creating this incentive in your mind to be more active, find more ways of squeezing, physical activity into your day. And there is another point that I wanted to make, kind of the way you positioned, kind of excuses, I think I would call them, or reasons why people say that they are not active is actually a bit of a fallacy. When we dug into a problem of not being physically active, we realized it is a universal problem. Someone who is training for a marathon wants to be more active and wants to train more. And that person who is, I don't know, unemployed, depressed, watching TV at 11 o'clock in the morning with a bottle of beer in their hand, they also want to be more active. And if you encounter a universal problem, then typically you have to dig deeper below the surface of, I don't have time, I don't have money, the weather is bad outside, or I don't have gym close by, I can't really motivate myself without personal trainer. All of those things that people throw at you as a first resort excuse, we realize that the reason why nobody is as active as they want to be is because nature did not build us to be active. Nature build us or optimize us for survival, which means preservation of calories rather than squandering of calories. And can you imagine Neanderthal running around and doing push-ups, pull-ups, and kind of being fit? No, because the only time when they would be running is either there is mammoth that they need to kill so that they have food and preserve the life of their tribe, or there is a saber-toothed tiger that is about to make food out of them. Then they run away, kind of saving their lives. And nature was so adamant that this is the right behavior that it gave us this behavioral feature back then because it helped us to survive through millennia. But now it is probably a bug, and it's called present bias. We are focusing on either getting rewards or sort of positive reinforcement now, or we're trying to avoid pain or punishment or death or kind of any sort of negative consequences on us. And there is another behavior that is negatively affected by present bias, and nature had to solve. And following that example, we have invented Sweatcoin, and that behavior is procreation. Nature has given us, humanity, an orgasm, which allows us not to screw up procreation. Nature didn't give us an orgasm for physical activity, and that's why we are spectacularly failing there. So we figured out, we need instant gratification for every step. And once your mind, your subconscious realizes that every step is gainful activity, then all of a sudden it is all of those motivation, money, time, they go out of the window, and you are on an unconscious level, your body is finding ways to squeeze more steps into your day-to-day life. We know this because over the years, we've done a lot of research, and we know that users are 20% more active after installing Sweatcoin, and even more when they install Sweat Wallet than they were before installing our app. So it is nudges, it is very subtle kind of influence on you that allows you to make nature, kind of flip the switch and start pushing you towards being more active rather than what default state is, to sit around between meals and wait for next pile of calories to arrive.
I like that. I don't wait for the next pile of calories. So I get 20,000 steps a day on average. I upped that starting in January, and because of that, I no longer take two of my diabetes medicines. The beta blocker I don't got to take anymore, and I had an operation on May 1st, my third cryoablation, which the next day I walked 8 miles instead of being laid up for a month. So
Wow.
I'd say there's benefit to walking, and
Yes.
people should do that. So, I have a
Yeah,
couple
and
questions.
kind of another very interesting insight that I should share with your audience is that people think that they need to really go to a gym for hours per day or, kind of hours per week. Medical research shows that you will get approximately 95% of health benefits, at least in terms of life extension, if you do elevated heart rate activity for about 20 minutes per day. So all you need is, walk at about 110 steps per minute, 110, 120, depending on kind of on your build. And you are already getting 95% of all the benefits. Beyond that, it is, kind of an extra 5% that you're gaining. So it's not difficult to all of a sudden start becoming healthier and wealthier, and rewarding you for steps is the easiest to explain and easiest to implement intervention that has a almost universal appeal all around the world.
So, I have a couple more questions. I just want
Sure.
to find out from you what does sustainable growth look to you like in consumer crypto for in the rest of this year and then beyond?
Well, I do believe that crypto right now is in a very similar position to the internet of 98, 99, 2000. Specifically, we are in an infrastructure bubble. We have so many chains, we have so many bridges, we've built an absolutely kind of incredible complexity around infrastructure. But if you look at the end user products, the number is very low. So we have 2000 chains in existence. If you go into DApp Radar and you filter out dApps that have more than 1000 users, which is not a lot by any stretch of imagination, but it's something. It indicates that it's not a, kind of family project or project for kind of me and my friends. The count is going to be less than 600. So if we use an analogy of chains are rails, then we have 0.3 carriages running per railway network, which is completely upside down structure because kind of it just, well, 0.3 carriages don't even exist, right? I mean, we are in a crazy place where wherever you look, there are rails running in every direction, but there is no activity that is happening on them. And chains can't exist without activity. Chains cannot return investment without activity. And this is very similar situation that we observed in, kind of 99 2000 of the internet, when all of those, kind of infrastructure investments gave us. Cisco was the largest company in the world in 99. Sun Microsystems was there, Jupiter Networks. So everything was about servers, data channels, data centers. And then all of a sudden, from 2000 to 2002, 2003, the narrative flipped on its head, and investments have gone into consumer internet that gave us Google in 2003, that gave us Facebook in 2007, because all of a sudden everyone realized we build this incredible infrastructure, but why? How are we going to monetize it long term? And pretty much every bit of money that was made on the internet that we are thinking of right now were actually made in consumer internet, not on the infrastructure. And we are going through exactly the same moment right now. Consumer crypto is slowly but surely becoming more and more talked about, because if you are an investor and you invested into chains, you want them to have activity. Where are they going to get activity? They need to build products that will be using this chain to, satisfy the problems or needs of the next billion people. But unfortunately, this hasn't been a priority. Not that it's not normal. Every other industry has gone through that. But I think we have a lot of young people that don't realize that this is the biggest narrative shift that is happening right now, from infrastructure to consumer crypto. And we're definitely leading the charge. And the scale that we have is we have more than 20 million token holders. That makes Sweat, a top 10 token by the kind of number of people holding it. And the activity is such that we're in top 20 tokens in terms of the number of people that are actively using it and kind of getting utility out of it.
Very, very cool. So I want to thank you very much. This has been a wonderful conversation. I have one last question. Thank you very much for your time. This is great. How can people find out more information about you, about Sweat? How can they do it? How can they participate? How can they get them on board? How to do that?
Yeah. Twitter, Telegram, Discord. Business would be Sweat or Sweat Economy. And me, myself, you can always follow me on Twitter. I am Oleg, my name, _FEM. Ping me on any of those channels. I do talk with our users directly and answer any question that you can possibly have. For example, very frequently people are like, well, you pay people to walk. How come that your token is valuable? And the answer is, well, you know intuitively that your movement has value, and Sweat is a tokenized value of your physical activity, but it also has incredible amount of utility. For example, grow jars, staking. We have rewards, and we already had several people winning Teslas. You can buy exclusive offers from our partners. And now it is also a universal gas token. So instead of owning, 20 different tokens to operate on different chains, all we're asking you to is to walk, and you will be able to cover your gas fees on any chain, which of course works on cheap chains like, I don't know, Solana, Near. If you want to operate on Ethereum, well, it will take you a lot of walking, but then it makes sense for you to buy Sweat, and Sweat only, rather than 20 different tokens, because that's a universal gas token, and each of those will operate only on those chains. So that creates additional buy pressure on the market.
Got it. Thank you very much for your time today.
Jamil, absolute pleasure being here. Thank you.